Should be a good session this afternoon as well. Let me just stop recording the topic of this week's webinar. We're talking to Enterprise about what it means to be LGBT at the company and how you can begin your journey working with them. I am joined by Ashley Heaver, Claire Benyon, and Tommy King. So I'm going to ask them to unmute themselves. And let's get this panel started. It's a race. Who can turn their cameras on first?
I win.
Perfect. We'll start with you then, Tommy. Would you like to introduce yourself, please?
Yes. Hello, I'm Tommy King. I am currently an assistant manager for Enterprise Rent-A-Car in the Northwest in Manchester, and I head up the LGBT committee in the Northwest side of the company.
Excellent. Thank you. And Ashley?
And not everything is competition, Tommy, but I think I did win. My name's Ashley Heaver. I'm the Director of Talent Acquisition at Enterprise Rent-A-Car, and I also head up our LGBT network, which is Enterprise.
And finally, Claire, would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself and who Enterprise are?
Yes, hi everyone. So my name's Claire Benyon and I'm the Talent Attraction Manager for Enterprise Rent-A-Car. So my role with my team is to ensure we attract the best and brightest diverse talent to our opportunities. And for those of you that don't know about Enterprise Rent-A-Car, we are a globally leading mobility provider. We recruit many graduates onto our management trainee program. Each year we have placement opportunities, but we also have opportunities within other divisions of our business too. So look forward to talking to you all today and hopefully you finding out a little bit more about us.
Excellent, thank you. Well said. Thank you for joining us all this afternoon. So I suppose I'll kick us off into our first question then, in sort of, how you got to your current career in Enterprise and what kind of made you want to apply. Ashley, being as I clearly skipped over you last time, if I come to you first.
No, it's fine. So I joined Enterprise, it will be 20 years in March. This was back in the day when you saw adverts in newspapers, which I know may be alien to a lot of people. And I left uni. I was the first in my family to go to university. I went to the University of Hull, had a degree in criminology, really struggled to find a job. I was didn't really have that network to really try and help me. This is what you need to do. This is go and visit the career service. So really struggled. So I ended up moving back home. I grew up in a pub, so I went back working in my pub and then saw an advert in the paper for graduate management jobs in Loughborough and applied and worked in our branch in Loughborough, worked in different locations across the east of England into different roles. And then around 10 years ago, maybe longer, I moved down to our head office in Surrey and started working within talent acquisition. So I was involved in the people side of a couple of acquisitions we made in France and Spain. When they came on board, I've also been involved in different acquisitions from a people perspective from the UK as well. And that's how I've kind of ended up doing what I do. So I really oversee everything that we do from and everything to do with talent. And so a lot of the relationships with different medias, with the universities. I manage a team of people who help us from an attraction and from the interviewing process perspective. So yeah, and we really do a lot of work around diversity, equity and inclusion as well. So a couple of things I forgot to mention at the start. So my pronouns are he, him, and I am gay. I was very late in life coming out, both personally and professionally, but hopefully I'll be able to get to talk a little bit about that further on in the Q&A.
Excellent, thank you very much. And Tommy, I suppose I'll come to you next. Tell us a little bit more about sort of how you got here and why.
Not as exciting as Ash. Unfortunately, I haven't been with the company as long as Ashley. I started the company in 2018. And I guess like the majority of students these days, I was sort of left in limbo a little bit. I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do, but I studied comedy writing and performance at university. So obviously with that degree. You don't just sort of jump into a job in comedy sort of thing. So I think what attracted me to applying for Enterprise originally was its focus on diversity and inclusion. When it came to me sort of applying for jobs, I tended to Google keywords along with the company name. So I'd type in like enterprise, LGBT, etc., and then see what they sort of champion, because that was always important to me. And that's what Enterprise, I think, did very well. It put it out there, it had resources online, etc. And yeah, that's pretty much how I sort of got into the company. And yeah.
Excellent. Thank you very much for that. And finally, Claire, the floor is yours.
Yes, well, I've been with Enterprise 18 years. I am an LGBTQ plus ally, and really Ash is my boss, so I need to just make sure I present myself as well. And I've apologized because I haven't put my virtual background on. I struggle with it on the way in, so there we go. I've got some learning to do with my Zoom background. So I started 18 years ago. I was a graduate at De Montfort University. I studied HR. And I really just didn't know what I wanted to do. Did I dream of car rental for a living? No, I didn't. That isn't what I wanted. I didn't know, to be honest. So I ended up applying to Enterprise. I found it through an agency, actually, back in the day. And I didn't get an interview, unfortunately. So I ended up going to work in a small firm, a family firm, over in Tamworth in Staffordshire. Kind of got some more experience under my belt. Probably realised that as a graduate, I didn't really play on my actual experience I had when I was going through school and university. I probably just did an awful job with my application. And then I came back and I applied again. And 18 years later, I'm still here. So that's kind of my journey into Enterprise. And I guess, you know, I really thought I'd maybe join and see what it was like and get some experience, maybe move on in 12 months. But actually, once I started and realised how the business operated, the culture, what was important to the values of the organisation, it's kept me here ever since. So yeah, here I am today.
Excellent. Thank you so much, sir. It's so great to sort of hear about how you've all sort of gotten to where you are today.
Have we sold you in a career yet, George?
Knowing my luck, my boss is probably on the line somewhere, so no comment for this particular moment.
Okay. Well, I'll come back to you in 40 minutes.
Right. There'll be a short email afterwards. Oh, goodness. My next question, I suppose, for the last couple of months we've been doing this, has always been focusing on the past, but I now guess with recent news, we can look to the future as well. Just sort of inquire about what your office life was like before the pandemic, how that's changed during, and I suppose now whether or not you think that's going to change, hopefully, fingers crossed, later on into this year. If I come to you, Tommy, if that's all right to start.
Yeah, very different times at the moment. Before the pandemic, etc., it was I never really felt like I'm in a branch, so I never really felt like it was office based because we was always out doing something, whether that's marketing, accounts, etc. We are always doing something. It's never sort of sat at a screen just typing away sort of thing. So a very fast pace, but yeah, I think office, should we say, is quite a loose term in my situation, and for the majority of the people that sort of work in the branches and in and out everywhere sort of thing. But there's loads of different aspects of the business you can get involved in, so that's what is attractive about it. I never see this job when I was applying for it as an office one. I don't think I could be tied down to a computer. I don't think I'd handle it well. But
certainly after the last 2 months, I know all about what you mean. Oh, isn't it fun? Goodness. I suppose then, so Claire, I said, I mean, as you mentioned, you've been at the company for a while now. What's that sort of change been for you?
Yeah, so I started on the management training program and worked my way up through the company. Actually, probably this time last year, I was in a different role. I was in a talent development role. So I was very much on my feet all day in front of a classroom of new hires or management and delivering all the great development programs that we have at the company. So very active, very social, lots of fun. And so, yes, then the pandemic hits and obviously things have changed. So I have moved into a different role in talent acquisition, and I'm less active. I sit quite a lot, and I need to figure out a better way to incorporate some activity into my day to day. But yeah, it certainly took a little bit of a while to sort of transition. But actually, we do so many great activities as a virtual team within talent acquisition, where it doesn't feel like you're just working from home on your own. You know, we're always interacting with each other through happy hours that we have as a team, through development opportunities. So yeah, it's actually, you know, I thought I'd struggle more than I have, but actually it's been absolutely fine, because I just get to talk to great people all day long. I just need to work out the fitness part. That's my opportunity.
I know that feeling. I know exactly what you mean with this whole business. So talking of June 21st, I think it's 121 days to sit and work off the working from home weight. So yeah, maybe need a routine. Finally, last but not least, Ashley, sort of, you know, more like Claire, more like Tommy, where's that sort of divide?
Yeah, again, I started in a branch, but now I work at our head office, which is, you know, based in Surrey, and there's, you know, two sort of distinct different roles really. So I think we've all started in our branches, and during the pandemic a lot of our branches stayed open. We were doing a lot of work around trying to ensure that we were getting resources across the different public sectors. We helped with the opening of some of the Nightingale hospitals. So we were able to, as a business, really offer a lot of support when it came to, you know, different initiatives and different things that were happening. So our branches in the main have remained open during this period. So where I am, our head office has pretty much been closed since March, and I don't see it opening up since last March. I don't see it opening up anytime soon. And we I think it's really interesting to see what people want and what they're looking for in a future of work, and what graduates are looking for. Because if you'd asked me back in May, June, I'd be like, oh yeah, I just want to work at home all the time. The weather's beautiful, the novelty of it. I don't have an hour plus commute every day. You know, all of that sort of thing was really, really appealing. And I think a year on, and having just, you know, been a what is a tough winter, your mindset changes a little bit. And I think, you know, people need that interaction. I think there's a lot of people from a mental health perspective who need to be in an office, or from a disability perspective who need to be around, you know, around other people. And when we asked our employees what they want, I think it really is a bit of a hybrid approach. So to be able to, if they need to have that opportunity to work from home, or be able to, you know, to come in the office. So I'm at home. I don't anticipate that changing really anytime soon. But we look at it, and most businesses are looking at it now going, could this be a really good way to open up talent pool for us as a business? Do you have to be based in Surrey to be able to do a particular job, or can you do this from Leeds or Edinburgh or Manchester? And that will really allow us to have a much more, I suppose, pool of talent that's a lot wider. And I think it's also going to help other people who may not be able to get to an office because of a disability. So there's been lots of disadvantages to this pandemic, but I think we will see over time that there's going to be a lot of advantages that are going to come to it, both from an employee and an attraction perspective as well.
Thank you so much for that. I can completely agree. I think I'm going to try and negotiate for a few days here and there. And I think that hybrid thing you sort of described will probably end up being the way that a lot of people do it. So thank you, though, for that insight. My next kind of questions, and I suppose the focus now really for me is more about sort of your LGBT network. And I just wondered if you could just tell us a little bit more. So I suppose if I come straight back to you, Ashley, just a little bit more about Enterprise and sort of, you know, how that functions within the company.
Yeah, it's I say relatively new. It is relatively new. And so when I first came out at Enterprise, there really wasn't any role models within the business. I was the most senior person to be openly gay within the business at that particular time. So me and a colleague around 5-6 years ago looked at it and thought, okay, what can we do to try and support our employees, support allies? What can we do, to help people who are looking to join the business? So we set up a group, and it really was through word of mouth and somebody knowing somebody else knew somebody else at Enterprise who was gay, and there wasn't really anything that was there that was formalized as a network. So To cut a long story short, we had a lot of different names and we came up with Enterprise, and we're a very decentralized business. So there's, across the country, there's lots of mini small businesses. And one of the challenges with any network that's like that is, how do you reach everybody within different parts of the country? So how do you reach that person in Bangor or in Ipswich or in Aberdeen? So how we work is we have employees like Tommy, who sits on our national enterprise board, but really helps represent the Northwest and takes a lot of what we're doing from centrally and really pushes that out to that group of employees, so it gets out to all employees. And then we really work as a network. So we've done National Student Pride for the last 5 or 6 years, and I know MyGwork's always been involved in that. We have done, when we could do, I think we did nearly 30 Pride events across the UK, and that's been really looked after, centrally, in terms of how we pull that together. And we just tried to, as a network, to find employees that we can role model, that we can profile within the business, and really make sure that every employee in the business, whether LGBTQ plus or an ally, knows that they can be themselves at work, and that there is somebody in the workplace that they can, maybe have those difficult conversations with, or conversations that they might not feel comfortable talking to. So it's really is a network where it enables people to, to educate themselves, find other like-minded people, but to really give that safe space as well for employees.
Excellent. Thank you so much. It feels almost bittersweet thinking about National Student Pride now, because it would have just been this weekend, as my phone has been so keen to remind me.
I think it was the last event that happened before really the lockdown. It was, I remember it distinctly. Our popcorn machine wasn't working, so it was.
It's crazy thinking about it. To think I said about 12 months ago, where we could do a whole day like that. We could go clubbing in the evening, as I only half remember, and then it was just a couple of weeks later, suddenly,
the whole world changed. And but I think, like I say, with our network, so the last couple of our last meetings have really been virtually, and it's just meant that people can, and this is the same with National Student Pride, it might bring a different audience to what would usually go to one of the events, and they don't then have to worry about travel to get to London, the same way people don't have to give up a day to come to an hour-and-a-half meeting on Enterprise. So there's loads of really good advantages that the pandemic has brought. And we've also found that within our meetings, because it's really interesting, and it's like people feel that if they're in their own environment, that perhaps in their own home, they're not looking around and seeing much more senior people within this meeting. So they have felt more comfortable and have been a lot more honest in a lot of the conversations that we've had within our network meetings. And we've really, I think, done some really good stuff in the past 6 months than we had done compared to the previous 18 months. So there's definite conversations, and things seem to be moving really quickly. And I don't know if it is because people see that they can perhaps feel more comfortable and are able to talk and be more honest in maybe that virtual environment than face to face as well. Sorry, I've talked a lot.
No, nothing wrong with it. My goodness, it's always the more the better, frankly, we always say. I am interested, though, if I can come to you, though, Tommy, as you mentioned, you've sort of been more maybe away from the office, more sort of that branch kind of setup. How has that kind of affected your interaction with Enterprise, and what's kind of that look like from your perspective?
So I've been very, very active recently, not physically, I haven't been running or anything, but very active in the workplace. So as Ash said, we do like a virtual meetings and stuff like that, which is a shame because I really enjoyed getting on the train down to London last time, Ash, when we came to the UK head office. It was fantastic. But like I say, I'm in the branch, and at the minute, as Ash mentioned, obviously it's separated into sort of groups, and I head up the LGBT committee, the Enterprise committee, should we say, for like the Manchester side of things. And we have never done so much Like with it being LGBT History Month this month, we've just got so much going on. So I'm in the branches, I'm sending out emails to like our group, should we say. Like every Friday this month, we've had an event going on. I'm sending out regular tweets, regular emails to every single member in my group. So I think I can safely say that I don't think my group has ever done as much as we are doing now. So it's really nice. And we've got such a strong committee behind us in Manchester, as long with Ash as well, like the national committee. So I'm feeling really positive with the direction that it's going in. It's great. It's loads going on. It's exciting.
What sort of Friday things have you been doing, Tommy? Do you want to
talk where should we start? So the first Friday of February, we did a rainbow day. So it was like you come in bright coloured clothes, we raise money for the charities, etc. I tend to send an email out once a week, sort of like a newsletter, and let the group know what's sort of going on in the community, recommended reads, watches, etc. The next week we did a LGBT bake-off, which was fantastic and made me realise that I absolutely cannot bake to save my life. We tweeted out pictures. It's all over Twitter. Like it just popped off. It was really nice. Even Paul Hollywood, by the way, said he was very impressed with some of our cooking. So that was an absolute delight. The third week, so last week, we had Rainbow Laces Day. So everyone in the company wore sort of rainbow laces with our suits, so it looked kind of funky. And it's just about spreading the message, really. So we're sending out emails, getting donations for the LGBT Foundation. And then this week is Twitter Takeover. So we're just going to storm the internet with everything we've learned this month. And I'm really excited for all the sort of LGBTR allies within the company to post everything about what they've learned this month. And I think that's important. It's not just about supporting our LGBT staff. It's about sort of educating our straight allies who aren't necessarily in the loop and they don't really understand as much as we do in the community. So I think that's one of the most important things that we've achieved this month. But yeah, popping off. We love it.
Fantastic. Yeah, you did great. I was going to say you've done a great job, Tommy. And I think, as you said, the network in the group has completely supported and delivered and supported you on this. And I just think it's absolutely brilliant. And I think, the communication we have, even though we're all so far apart across many different branches across the country, your activity, everyone can see it. And it's fantastic. You've touched so many people with all of your great initiatives. So well done.
Thank you very much, Claire.
And sticking with you, Claire, I suppose perhaps from your perspective as well, what's kind of been your engagement with Enterpride, if I may ask?
Yeah, well, pre-COVID, and when I was working in a regional group, we would always ensure we are present at all of the Pride events, and that was just lots of fun, fantastic, and yes, would end up typically, George, in a nightclub somewhere. So we had lots of fun and always kind of were present at the Pride events. In my role today, we are connecting with those networks to ensure, again, we're attracting a real diverse audience and diverse candidate pool to our opportunities, using the Enterpride team to help us sort of represent on panels like we are today. I know Ash has been in quite high demand this week, and it's been a lot of panel events, but really just to kind of ensure that we're reaching out to the student audience and help them understand about our culture, because I think until you speak to enterprise employees, it's not a culture you necessarily understand or easily, unless you look at our website and our great blogs that we have on our website. You wouldn't necessarily have that perception of Enterprise Rent-A-Car. So really, we're just trying to help bring that culture we have to students on campus, so they really understand what we're about. So yeah, getting involved in many different events and societies on campus. We love to connect with and work with and help with employability skills and hopefully get them into great careers with us.
Excellent. Thank you so much, sir. It's so fantastic to hear. I suppose sticking with the sort of Enterpride and sort of Pride Network, as Tommy, you kind of hit the nail on the head, the idea of sort of reaching out to allies. I suppose it must, that really sort of important thing, sort of making sure you've got LGBT role models in the workplace. And I just wondered if, I suppose coming back to you, Tommy, it's a great start, if you had any ideas about what might sort of make a good sort of role model in the workplace, sort of for an LGBT role model.
I think, sorry if I had my mic on mute. I think for someone to be a role model, it's just about being vocal, and it's about listening more than anything. I did write an article up saying that Ash was one of my role models and still is Ash. It's just very out there. He champions diversity, and that's what I love as someone in the community. It's just seeing someone in a senior position who's very vocal about it and making sure that you're being listened to, essentially, and then taking any issues or anything like that and making sure that they are addressed and sorted out. But yeah, I think that's what does for me make an LGBT role model, someone that is willing to listen and to be vocal about it. I think you need someone to champion it and yeah.
Excellent. Thank you so much for that. I suppose to come back to you, Ashley, certainly high praise. I just wondered how Enterpride approach things like sort of like Pride Month, because I mean, we appreciate, of course, the pandemic has put a lot of restraints and sort of things that we can get up to, but as we've heard, we've had so many great things going on regardless. And I just sort of wondered how those sort of challenges were sort of faced by Enterpride and things like Pride Month, LGBT History Month, and sort of how you got around them.
Yeah, not going to lie, it's been a challenge, and it's about how do you still try and have some visibility during those times. And so for National Student Pride, it would be like, how do you replace or replicate that face-to-face contact of a careers fair? And it's like, well, we need to get involved virtually to do this, and just ensuring we've got a bunch of our employees, because National Student Pride is it's great to attract people and from a brand recognition, but it's also a great event for your own employees, because again, it really reaffirms that commitment to LGBT, and it gets them involved in things that in activities and stuff that's outside of the day job, and really tries to give back and show that, okay, this is why I joined Enterprise, and I'm actually able to do what they said I could do as a business. And then over Pride, I think Pride Month was particularly tough. I think for a lot of businesses during that part of the pandemic, there was a lot of people on furlough. We had employees that were on furlough, and we did bits and pieces in terms of, had stuff out on social media, had stuff internally. We made sure that we were still trying to communicate with employees during that period. But I think we learned a lot as a business during that time on what we did well, what we could do better, and have really taken that. And, I look at what we've done for History Month, and we've learned from some of the things that our employees were telling us in the summer to ensure that we are still doing that. We're doing that today. And I think, as Tommy says, we've made some, internally, we've ensured that people are seeing some visible posts in of role models or people who are happy to talk about themselves in the business, about their experiences, any challenges they faced, what it was like growing up, stories they've got to tell. And so we've had some real success that way through this. So what's going to happen this Pride, who knows? I think we're still going to look at it and work on it. But we've just done different things. So like this year, in the London region, we've all got our face coverings, which are branded Enterprise, which it's really there to celebrate LGBT History Month this month. So we're still working on different things, and we've just really tried to be visible to both from an attraction with universities and also from our own employees, and know that there's still a network internally despite the tough times that we've had. But there isn't getting away from it. The last year, businesses have had to do things that they wouldn't normally do. And this time last year, if we were talking about furlough at National Student Pride, nobody would have a clue what we're on about. And then all of a sudden, within 2 months, it was the most popular used word in HR. So it's, I think you learn, and we're continuing to learn as a business, which is if you don't learn, then that's the main issue more than anything else.
Excellent. Thank you so much for that. And that's absolutely true with that. With that sort of covered slightly, we will come back to that in a bit. I'd like to turn the attention just to talk about the graduate opportunities over at Enterprise. I suppose, Claire, sort of coming to you, if I could just sort of ask about what currently is the landscape for graduates, undergraduates? What are we looking at here?
Well, the positive news is that we're hiring, so we have lots of opportunities, and that's for our management training program, but also for our placement opportunities too. So they are all on our website posted. So the opportunity is that you start on our management training program. We don't take applications from specific degree disciplines. So if you're studying a drama degree, was it, Tommy? Then, you know, that's brilliant, because we get really talented people like Tommy in the business. So
it was comedy writing and performance. I try and be funny, but I do try.
So, I mean, that's fantastic. You know, any discipline you come from, please, you know, look at our opportunities. If you have customer service experience, you want to work in a customer service environment, then it's a fantastic opportunity, because we are looking for people who are really good at building relationships. And in that first 12 months, you are learning how to run the business from the ground up on a real intense development program. And Tommy wasn't there too long ago, and I think you agree, Tommy. You had a lot of variety in that first year as you're training.
100%. There's so much you can go into as well. Like from day dot, you just get involved in everything, be it marketing, finance, customer service. It's just, there's so much you can get stuck into. And I think that's why I've stuck around for so long, because it's not like I'm just on a straight and narrow to one career. I think I've changed my mind maybe once or twice into where I want to be in 5 years within the company. So yeah, there's loads you can get stuck into, and it's not just renting cars. It's literally not just that. So
yeah, you're learning to run a business. You get a lot of autonomy very early on, and you really develop a lot in that first year. And then once you've passed your management qualification interview, that then gives you the opportunity to get the green light to go into a management role, which Tommy, is in today as an assistant manager. And again, you're given a lot of responsibility. Really responsible for the customer service of the business, the HR side of, and looking after your employee development, growing your branch, growing your network and your fleet, and also making the branch profitable. So again, lots of opportunities. You then pay commission off the profits your business generates, so really unique. And then from there you go into a branch manager role. It is a promote from within culture, which is quite unique. So if we're looking for new and talented people to go into different roles, then we would look for our own employees to progress them into those roles. So we don't take people outside into those management positions. And then from there, you carry on down the main operational route of area manager through to eventually director of a region, or there are other opportunities to diversify in the business too. So yeah, it's you're learning every day, and yeah, we have some absolutely fantastic opportunities if anyone's interested or wants to connect with us after today.
Perfect, thank you very much. I suppose maybe to pry a little further then, I just sort of wonder what the application process looks like, what sort of an applicant can expect to sort of go through to sort of get to these positions.
Yeah, absolutely. So it is an online application. You then will have probably a screening interview with a recruiter, just to kind of ensure that you do kind of qualify. You need to have a driving license, unless for other reasons like disability, you don't have, we'll make obviously those adjustments. So but as long as you've got some good customer service experience, and we'll look at your application, we'll screen you really quick, and then we'll put you through hopefully to a recruiter interview, which takes probably around about 45 minutes, where you get a competency-based interview. If successful, you'll then go to a branch, and you'll get to really have a feel for our actual branch environment. I think it's important for candidates to really kind of get a feel for the culture of the company and really make a decision on whether this is something they want to do day to day and this is a company they want to work for. So yes, we'll be assessing you at that branch visit, but also you'll be assessing us to see if this is something you'd like to do as a career and get to hang out with people like Tommy for a few hours, which is fantastic. And then you'll have an area manager interview, and really that is the last stage of the process. We made a decision during the pandemic, the start of the pandemic. We did have an assessment centre, but we don't have that as part of the process anymore, and we assess those competencies more at the branch visit stage. So essentially it is application, an interview, and a branch visit and interview with the hiring manager. So it's kind of a 3-step process.
Excellent. Thank you so much for that. I suppose coming to you then, sort of Tommy, sort of keeping in that vein, I just wondered if there was anything you wish you'd known going to the application, or anything you think you did that worked really well, or if you could tell us a little bit more about that at all.
Oh, it feels like a long time ago when I did my branch interview. I suppose I've had a branch interview in my branch today, and the only advice I could give to someone who is sort of getting to that stage is just get stuck in. Just get a feel for the business, because as Claire said, we're not just assessing you, you're essentially assessing us as well. And you want to be finding out by getting stuck in if this company is for you. I mean, it's a fantastic company to work for, and I can't take that away from it, but it's good to get a feel of the business. And I think the process that's in place is effective, and it's similar to what I sort of did pre-COVID as well. I did the branch interview, but just with the additional assessment centre. But I think you get some direct time with the branch manager, the area manager and stuff as well. So yeah, I'd just say get stuck in and go for it.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I suppose so, Claire, we've touched on it a bit, but I just wondered if you could maybe just a little bit more about what you're kind of looking for in applicants, what to you makes that sort of ideal applicant?
Yeah, absolutely. And I will talk about that, and then I'm going to just talk about some sort of drop-in sessions we're doing with candidates too, because I think that's going to be really helpful to the audience today. So yeah, we're looking for we have competence we assess for, and inevitably you will be asked questions through the interview process around those competencies. So customer service I've mentioned. We really want to see somebody who's had some customer interaction and some experience, and we do appreciate that during the pandemic that's not been very easy to gain, and really looking at some alternatives you may have had in terms of virtually, or maybe any roles that you've done before the pandemic that's involved that kind of face-to-face customer interaction. Is really important because customer service is so important to us at Enterprise. So you'll be assessed on certainly customer service, leadership. We're not expecting sort of ready-made leaders to join the business, but we want to see that potential. We assess on communication skills, flexibility. There's 6 competencies, and what I would suggest is that you really look at certainly our career site, because that really helps you get a feel for some of the roles that we recruit for, or even speak to the likes of Tommy. I'm sure he'd be very happy to have a conversation with you about his role and his advice. But we're looking for those. Work ethic is important, another competency. It's quite hard work, I would say, the first year, but it really does pay dividends in your career when you complete your development program, and you're performing at the level we would expect you to be. So we're looking for people that work hard, that have great customer service skills or experience, and really kind of meet those competencies that we recruit for that I've spoken about. So it's very broad, and I think as I say, we get applications from lots of different degree disciplines. You might have a bioscience degree but have worked in a bar or restaurant before, and that experience is invaluable. So I would say your degree is absolutely critical, of course it is, but please just highlight all that extracurricular experience that you've got, whether you've been in a society, whether you've still managed to carry on working, whether you're volunteering. there's so many great things that you can put on your application, and we just find that our applicants struggle, or that's where they struggle the most when we look at progressing them to interview. We might, if we reject a candidate, they might come back and say, well, actually, I've done this. And I'm like, well, why don't you put it on you need to put it on your application. You've got to look at how you stand out from your peers. And it's really that additional information box, fill it with all the great experience that you've got and all your interests and hobbies. It really kind of tells us what type of person you are. So that's my advice.
Excellent. Thank you so very much for that. So we're going to come to our Q&A in a moment. So to those of our attendees who have joined us, if you have any questions, anything we haven't really discussed, please feel free to leave it in the Q&A and we will come to those in just a moment. While we wait for them to send their questions in and address some of the questions that are already there, I have one sort of final major question from me. And that is sort of, what one piece of advice or sort of takeaway message would you have for any sort of graduate or undergraduate who's sort of watching this? Do you mind if I come to you first, Ashley, if that's all right?
No, not at all. My advice is to, I'm not going to say no, George, you're in charge. My advice is really just listen to the advice you've been given today and actually do something with it. So I could sit here and go, go and write down everything you've done, go and reflect on everything that you've learned over the past 3 years. But you've just heard from three of us just really talking about make sure you connect on LinkedIn, make sure that you look at the website when applying for jobs, make sure you fill in all the forms properly. And it's like, just do those 3 or 4 things and you will have, that's the main piece of advice that I'm going to get. Just listen to people that can give you, that know, that are doing the job, and these are the people that are looking at the applications. My other piece as well is just make sure you try and connect or engage with your career service at university. They know a lot of employers, they've got a lot of different connections, and they can sometimes connect the dots between employer, university, academic. So, make sure you're reaching out to them as well. And just try and take today and just think, actually, I really like what Tommy said. I'm going to connect on LinkedIn and just go and do it. Or I really liked what he was doing on Twitter around History Month. Let me see what they did. So just different things like that. That's my advice.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And I'll come to Tommy next, if that's all right.
Of course. My advice from a personal experience and what I struggled with is just getting ahead of the game. Like if you're coming up to your graduation, get ahead of it. Start looking for companies that you do want to work for, because I left university. I worked in just a bar in a city centre and I was sort of stuck. I felt like I was having sort of a quarter life crisis. Thinking like, where do I go? What company do I sort of apply for? And I never really got involved in any events like this one. I never really networked with people. I never really went to any talks at university itself to talk about sort of careers and things like that. And I wish I did. So I think that would be my sort of biggest takeaway from this for anyone sort of watching is get ahead of it. Get involved in things like this and reach out to people, connect on LinkedIn, Twitter, etc. Just get yourself out there.
And finally, Claire, the floor is yours.
Yeah, I would say one size doesn't fit all when you're applying for opportunities. So please take the time to really prepare for that application. Don't just get your CV out to lots of different companies and expect to get an interview. You've really got to tailor that application, that CV, to the opportunity to get noticed. I've realised now 18 years later that was my mistake, and probably why I didn't get an interview when I first applied for Enterprise. So I've certainly learned from that. And like Tommy said, take advantage of opportunities, get ahead of the game. We do drop-in sessions on a Wednesday evening for our candidates. So if you do apply, you get a real great opportunity to listen to employees in the business, get to meet, our recruiters. And it's really a great environment where it's really informal and you can ask really those questions that you might not ask in an interview. Take advantage of those type of opportunities that are there for you.
And George, for all viewers of MyGwork, we're more than happy to invite that invitation out to anybody that wants to find out more about Enterprise but hasn't applied to us. So if that's something that you want to get involved in, then again, connect with Claire and she can send you out the invite as well to the event. So just something that's getting you ahead of the game, as Tommy says.
Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you so much for that. Before we come to our Q&A, a quick plug from our end. Enterprise is a partner of MyGwork, so they have their own little page on MyGwork. You can find out more about graduate jobs they have going on, articles, members of staff are on the platforms. You can also reach out to them that way. If you are watching live, you will be getting a follow-up pack after this event with some more information. If you're watching this on catch-up, I'm afraid you'll have to come and find them on the platform. But now, if we head over to our Q&A, I'm going to start with a question from our chat from Umar that asks, I have the branch visit coming up soon after lockdown. What can I expect during the visit? Who will I meet? And what opportunities will I get to showcase my skills? Claire, are you perhaps best placed to answer that? Or I don't know.
Well, first of all, congratulations. Well done for making the branch visit. So we're really excited to have you join us. And if you haven't yet attended the Wednesday night drop-in sessions, in fact, we have one tonight, I think it will really help because we do our top tips on the branch visit. What I would say, and Tommy probably sees quite a few candidates, he's had a candidate at the branch today, so maybe can sort of reinforce some of the points that I've mentioned, is you will have an opportunity to kind of spend some time in the branch, meet the employees, and really find out what the day-to-day role's like. So you'll be really welcomed into the branch by the employees in the branch before then you go into an interview with an area manager. I would say in that part where you are really just sort of exploring the branch environment, just make sure you really take advantage of that opportunity. So it's, we'd love for you to sort of speak to our customers. We'd love you to be able to ask great questions of the employees in the branch about their career and about their development program they might be on. You really want to see someone who's sort of genuinely sort of interested in those type of opportunities. Customer service, just ask about how what our expectations are around customer service. Maybe ask about your development opportunities. Look at the training folder that we have. So you're always being assessed. You're not just being assessed in the interview, you're being assessed at the branch visit. So for those that come to the branch visit and sit there quietly and don't really say a lot, there's a big chance you might not get through to the final stage of the process. So Tommy, I don't know whether you want to give any more.
Yeah, literally everything you've just said, Claire, to be honest. Just get stuck in and ask as many questions as you can. We had one today and she's absolutely lovely girl, and she just got stuck in. She found out she met customers herself, and it's not something that's necessarily required, but she stood up, introduced herself to the customers. But just get stuck in. I'm full of advice today. Get ahead of the game and get stuck in. But no, yeah, literally just jump in the deep end, and it can only be beneficial for you.
Yeah, we want to bring your authentic self to the branch visit. So you're going to be nervous, of course you are. Try and relax and be your true self is important. You bring your personality that way. So
excellent. I think I'm going to have one last question very quickly before we come to the end. I'm very conscious of the time. So this question comes from Hugh in our Q&A. Great session. Well done, George, and the panel. Thank you. Very grateful. And especially to our panelists. Picking up on something that Ashley touched on earlier, what sort of initiatives does Enterprise have in relation to mental health and wellness of its workforce? Ashley, did you want to take this perhaps?
Yeah, there's a lot of different initiatives we did both before the pandemic, during the pandemic, and things that we will take on, continue to do afterwards. So we've always had a team of mental health first aiders that we've got. We have a wellness committee that really is that looks at everything from fitness to food to mental health. We have a lot of internal blogs and stories that our employees talk about. We're doing different pieces of work on technology wellness and how this working from home has perhaps caused different, technology is starting to cause different issues, I suppose, that that people are not taking a lunch and they're working through their lunch. We've seen data that's saying people are working a lot longer than what they did pre-pandemic. So in terms of mental health and wellness, there's a lot of education that's going on, and working with our line managers to ensure that you're not doing hour-long team meetings back to back to back to back from 10 till 6 o'clock in the evening, that you may be setting things up for 45 minutes or 50 minutes, that instead of a half an hour call, can it just be a 25-minute call? How often do you check in with your team and just actually ask how they're doing? So we're educating a lot of line managers and doing some work. We put on a lot of different webinars for employees. Pre-pandemic, we spoke a little bit about different networks. So the Enterprise Network worked with the Thrive Network, and we did a session on suicide among, and how that was particularly impactful within the LGBTQ plus community. And so we brought the two networks together to really look at how we can educate the wide, the workforce, rather than it just being that team doing something and this team doing something. So we're constantly doing things, and we're always looking for ideas from our employees on what we can do more or do better. So there is a whole host of stuff, but I'm very conscious that you're looking at the clock, George, so I'm going to stop talking.
That's not a worry at all. As I said, I appreciate we couldn't get through all of the questions. As our panelists made it very clear, I'm sure if you reach out to them afterwards, or if you reach out to us, we can pass the questions on. So please, if you have a question, do get an answer. But yes, as I said, unfortunately, we are coming to the close of our session today. So I would like to say a big thank you to Ashley, Tommy and Claire from Enterprise for joining us this afternoon, and for Enterprise just for giving up your evenings to be here and talk to us all. We're very grateful. And to our attendees, there will be a pack coming out afterwards with some more information about what we've discussed.
And thank you, George, for being a great host and making us feel so comfortable. So appreciate that.
I haven't even had to pay him to say it. Thank you so much. Very much appreciated. Thank you. I'm putting that down as an endorsement. But no, thank you, sir, for coming along this afternoon. But yes, as a piece, I suppose, of final housekeeping, firstly, Student Bites will be back soon. But in the meantime, we have another great event coming up for you next month. Work Fair is our LGBT careers fair for students, graduates and job seekers. Over the course of the day on the 24th of March, you'll be able to come along and meet so many more employers in formats like this, and talk to recruiters and find out more. So please do sign up for that. You can sign up for that via our website, or again via the pack that's coming out. We're going to
be at the Work Fair, George. So we'll look forward to seeing everybody there.
Absolutely. So again, as I said, any questions you get to us today, come along to Work Fair and be sure to ask them there. And very finally, I know, as you said, as people see on our advertising, that one of our lucky attendees does walk away with an £100 Amazon voucher after taking all of the names and putting them into the hat. Not myself, but my boss. We have pulled out the name of Frederick Ronsholt. Hopefully I'm saying that right. Congratulations. We will be in touch with you soon to hopefully sort that all out. Still, thank you very much, everyone, for coming along. We hope to see you soon. Thank you very much to Enterprise for joining us. I've been George Wright. This has been MyGwork, and goodbye.